The preliminary task was extremely valuable to undertake before filming. There were 4 continuity editing techniques we learnt which could be used in my production. I did some research and found that the most effective were match and action and the 180-degree roll. The match and action is where the same action is shown from different angles to view in different perspectives. It shows a continuous state of more than one action instead of matching each separate shot together. This cuts from one shot to another, finishing the shot from a different angle that matches the first angle and energy. It gives the impression of continuous time. I used this in my preliminary task several times. I then used my knowledge of how to use the match on action to my best ability with my opening sequence. In this shot, I use a close-up of a door being opened and a medium shot from the other direction. I also used a match on action whereby the young girl's head drops to her hands in shock of being fired. Despite the fact that these were filmed at different times, the editing allowed them to look continuous and gave a more varied variety for the audience to watch. The 180-degree roll states that 2 characters in the same scene should always have the same left and right relationship to each other. This makes sure that the audience doesn't get confused on which side of the characters are in relation to each other. I stayed with this in both my preliminary task and my opening sequence, as this is key to making sure that it all made sense and follows through. For my preliminary task, the music was created on GarageBand, which I had little knowledge on. Therefore, I just looped it with already made loops focusing on timings. For example, the music lowers and then completely stops and starts up again at crucial moments. When the young girl is entering the office, when the boss starts to speak, and when she's getting fired. I thought this had a good effect, so consequently, I continued this into my final opening sequence for the establishing shots. Every time a new chord was played, a different establishing shot was exposed. The sound is quite dramatic. It has a low tempo and limited dynamics. This helps portray the mood. As social dramas usually present some type of problem or conflict, this helps represent and reflect on the mood. I have used both diegetic and non-diegetic sound with the music and sound effects. I learnt the importance of continuity from my preliminary task. There was a big problem, where the boss is sitting at her chair facing the young girl in one shot, then, in the next shot she is facing away and turns to the girl. This was very noticeable, which made me very conscious about making sure my opening sequence had perfect continuity and it all made sense. As I filmed my opening during several days, I had to make sure that everything I had used in the previous filming was exactly the same. The makeup had to replicate how it was done the first time. To make sure this happened, I made a plan and took photos of things, of how they had to be placed. Then, throughout the editing, I made sure everything fitted together correctly. In my preliminary task, I had no tripod, and therefore, my shots were a lot shakier than they are in my final opening sequence. This makes it look a lot more professional and gives it a cleaner, polished look.